My first experience entering an experimental house was back in 2007 in Höyük. The combination of the strong smell of heat mixed with dust and being under a low ceiling produced a very particular stage. The storage room was very small. The walls were plastered in white and there were paintings reproduced on the walls. I placed the camera as far back as I could to be able to get a bigger angle of the room. The tourist entrance seemed intrusive, and therefore I blocked it with an old mattress and a cloth, leaving the ladder as my only means to get in and out of the place. Slowly, I began to fill the room. As days went by, it was easy to imagine it as a home. The night of the full moon, I slept there. I placed my mat on top of the fake grave that the archaeologists had reproduced and fell asleep looking at the painted replica of Hassan Dagh placed on the lower wall in front of me. Probably the magnetism of the satellite had something to do with it, but the image of the volcano appeared in my dreams. The following morning, the whole room had a different feel. The noise of people outside felt as if they were my village people. Of course, imagination was needed to visualize the space as it was 9,000 years ago. There must have been very strong human and animal smells. The floor was probably covered in mats, ceramic bowls and cloth. I also imagined a very strong smell of tannery. Large bull horns must have taken a lot of space. Then, during the long winters, there was the cracking noise of the fire in the silence of the night, coupled, of course, with the noise of people snoring. Then there was the smoke and the dust filling in the lungs of the inhabitants and having an effect on their sleep and, of course, their dreams. Children's cries and the sound of adults snoring was probably a very regular tune. There were also insects everywhere, beetles and mosquitoes by their hundreds. 8 years later, Ashikli offered me a much more varied experience. There were 13 replicas this time, but with the egress placed at different angles on the roof, allowing for a variety of beams of light of different shapes and sizes to travel across the interiors. I filmed the different journeys starting from the moment that the shape of light would appear on the wall, that is between 8 a.m. and 8:20 a.m. approximately, and finishing when the shape would disappear completely around 5:15 and 5:35 p.m. I used frames taken at 10-second and 30-second intervals, recording the movements of the clouds and any intrusion that took place on the sky and affected the particular beam that was being filmed inside the unit. My installation comes from those images and the experiences I have had inside the units. Observing the movement of the light, one had to be very aware of the earth turning. What were the people of Ashikli Höyük thinking about this movement? Was there a powerful force moving the sun? We do not know what they thought, but what we do know is that they acknowledged it. Light is life, undoubtedly. But without darkness, there is no light. The combination of the particular sized unit, the empty space, imagination, and many hours of observation developed the idea into this piece. In contrast with the 7:30 to 8 hours of sunlight entering the interiors and producing beams and shapes moving at a very slow pace, there will be a projection of a selection of videos on a loop, filmed on site and manipulated by me. I'm planning to alter the time speed of the films, recording the motion of the beam of light so that the whole sequence can be seen. Also, I will include light journeys from different azimuths filmed inside the different units on site. Sound will also be an important element, helping to create an environment that will effectively transport participants and spectators to a time-space very different from today, and yet encouraging reflection on this ancient constructed phenomenon. The installation will aim to reconstruct the sense of time and space that light creates during its journey inside the dwellings of this very unique prehistoric settlement. I have made a replica of the exact size of Unit 5. I have not yet decided how will I place the entrance. The work is still in progress. A bench placed inside the unit will allow the visitors to watch the projection on the back wall, taking the place of the inhabitants of Ashikli Höyük. The advantage of being an artist and not a scientist is that we can turn things upside down without having to take responsibility of our actions. If the final piece is alive, then all the different processes are acceptable. It is interesting to think that the Earth revolves around the Sun, describing an elliptical orbit of 930 million kilometers at an average speed of 107,280 kilometers per hour, according to Wikipedia, which means traveling the distance in 365 days and almost 6 hours. Hence why every 4 years one is counted as leap year. The concept of time is very difficult to imagine. Our ancestors had only the sun, the moon, and the stars to quantify time. But they watch the beams of light at exactly the same speed as we do.